my name is Ramina Ryan, and in this video I'll explain the rhetoric of fan fiction. Now, the easiest way to explain fan fiction, for those of you who don't know, is think Loki, the Marvel TV show. Think of that. Think about how the standalone character Loki is considered, at least in the early movies, to be like evil and menacing and I'm a villain. But upon entering basically the multiverse, he is presented with all these opportunities of being like, oh, I'm an alligator, or oh, I'm a woman, or oh, I exist in this fashion. Interesting. How does this change my character? Think that. Now, in the early days of fan fiction, around the 80s and 90s, because that's when the internet started popping up and that's when people could start creating these works and sharing it with others, many authors, like J.K. Rowling, did not like the fact that fan fiction existed, so they often sued or sent cease and desist letters to the authors of these works. And at the time, there was one main site that still exists, that site being fanfiction.net. Now, over the years, a couple sites have fallen and, come to light and stuff like that, as the internet does. But as of right now, there are 3 main sites for fanfiction to occur upon. Archive of Our Own, or AO3, which is basically an entire public server of lawyers and just fans of anything who have come together to rent out these massive servers, and I believe Switzerland, to create this safe environment for people to put their works out. That way they can get feedback and communication from others who like the same thing. Then there's Wattpad, which is its own private site. It's not the best in the tiers, but everybody's got to start somewhere. I started there. And then we have fanfiction.net, which I mentioned before from the cease and desist letters. Now, in these tiers, top would be Archive of Our Own, simply because they have a wide variety of filtering options. So let's say I wanted to look up the fandom Harry Potter, but I didn't want Severus Snape to be a character in any of the stories. I could very easily filter him out. And then I could filter in 10 other characters that I did want to interact in a very specific manner. Yes, it gets very specific. Now, on fanfiction.net, it still has this filtering system, but not to the greatest extent. As far as I'm aware, you can add 4 characters that you would like to see, and then 3 characters which you don't want to see. And not all the time is that filtering system the best. Wattpad is a thing. We won't get into that. I don't have the time. Anyway, over the years, starting in the late 80s, early 90s, as the internet was coming into power and people started realizing, oh, I can host these websites and, people can come look at my writing and see how it goes. And, if we share the same passion for this thing, it became very apparent that many young female members of these communities, so think the Star Wars fandom, how that is traditionally male-centric, many of the female fans of these communities would find shelter within fan fiction. So it became a safe haven for people who did not feel comfortable in the common mainstream fandom group, if you will. So even now, there is still that overwhelming majority of female-led authors and female readers. That's expanded a little bit in the last 10 or so years, but it is still mainly women. One second.